But the big time story, obviously, is the angle that came out of Elimination Chamber, where John Cena has officially turned heel once again. Let the record show, of course, if people don't remember, he was heel many, many, many years ago. Talking about that now on patreon.com/countupod. But John Cena has officially turned heel. He is sidelined with The Rock and Travis Scott for some reason to not only win the Elimination Chamber and face Cody, but now be the quote-unquote corporate champion. His soul is owned by WWE and the final boss. And John Cena has turned heel. Scotty, talk to me. What were your thoughts about watching this angle? What are your thoughts contemplating it afterwards? Give me your feelings. Give me your thoughts, your emotions, because I know, Scotty, as a big fan of John Cena, I'm sure you have some emotions here.
It was complete shock. It's one of those things that you're like, they'll never do it. They'll never do it. Why would we do it now? He's retiring.
Never considered it for the Elimination Chamber stuff. Never considered
not even a
it.
second. I thought they'd just pivot the person that faced Cody instead of do this. So much of the fear this week was that John Cena was going to face Logan Paul. That was the fear of everyone, right? I don't think John Cena is ever going to face Logan Paul now based on what happened, because no one's ever going to cheer for Logan Paul. I was in complete shock. It was one of those things where I was kind of on cloud nine post the men's elimination chamber match for various reasons. And the moment he makes that face during the hug, and you're just like, oh my God. And then you watch the beat down, you watch what happens, and you watch them walk away, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? I don't even know what I have watched it a few times. It was a sensational angle, like period, point blank. This angle was everything that you want. For me, this angle is everything you want American wrestling specifically to be. You want that wow factor. You want that, as they say, a memory. This will be a memory. This is not going to be forgotten. This is John Cena turning heel in his retirement year, going side by side with The Rock. And, I sat there and I thought about it, I was like, I mean, what a feather in the cap for Cody freaking Rhodes, by the way. He's the one babyface that got The Rock and John Cena to both turn heel in the past year.
I didn't think about it like that, but that is a great point.
It's like insane. It's just insane. Like, I could have never imagined.
He's a strong enough babyface that can allow Cena to be heel.
I've jokingly said over the past,
I guess remains to be seen, to be fair, but
2 years, I've jokingly said it over the past 2 years. Oh, John Cena's Cody Rhodes is the new John Cena. It's not a joke anymore. Very clearly he is. And I don't know. It was amazing. It truly was like such a good angle. I don't think I've seen anyone like hate it. I think it's mostly been like shock, if anything, realize this man did a Make-A-Wish before this show. And then did this, and the press conference where he just drops the mic and leaves. I'm fascinated to see where it goes. It's one of those things where, like, for the first time ever, when Triple H said like the industry changing show, it actually was true for once. He didn't lie. Congratulations. It's amazing. It was truly like so good, so well done. Between this and the 5 minutes of wrestling I got between John Cena and CM Punk, I don't think I've liked a WWE thing in like this much since I was probably a kid. Like, that's how great those two things were for me. I don't know. And obviously it's all about the follow-up. We have that discussion all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's The Rock and Cena. Like,
and at this point,
and Cody.
We got to throw in
Cody. Like, who am I to expect anything but this working, right? Like, I don't know. I'm excited for Cena to be serious again too. That's something that I think people haven't kind of thought about is
Yeah.
he's going to be serious now. You know, he played it so well too. Like, no, don't do it. In the background while him and Rock are talking, and I thought everyone played their role well. Even Travis Scott, who slapped the shit out of Cody.
Cody afterwards be like, man, what a receipt. Like, just, I don't know what was that for,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, like so good. It was just so good. It was
Travis
so good.
Scott is going to go down as an insane trivia fact as part of this angle. Just like, who was the third man who turned heel on Cody Rhodes at the Elimination Chamber 2025? Travis Scott, but of course, how could we
But
forget?
of course. Oh my
Uh,
god.
yeah, I thought the angle, in terms of the story itself, I thought the angle. I saw some people notice that if you went back to the Royal Rumble press conference,
Yeah,
you had John Cena talking
they've been
about
connecting
how,
the dots.
yeah, there's some dot connections there where it's, John Cena talking about how, um, uh, 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 you know, uh, I'm gonna enter. He's the only one that doesn't qualify. To be fair, it's John Cena. That's why everyone can ignore it. He's like, I'm not qualifying, and he ends his sentence by saying it's what's best for business.
Mhm.
And flash forward to here, and you're like, yeah, that it makes sense then for him to be there.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I think like in the chamber, he's still playing a little babyface in terms of like Rollins
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Punk.
You're still playing John Cena.
Yeah, and I that's the part of it that we'll move forward and see how that turns out.
Mhm.
And we'll talk about that in a moment. But I I don't, Scotty, I'm a little conflicted about it. I'm not going to be the negative Nancy or the negative Nancy, if you will. Uh, I'm conflicted about it because I thought the angle was cool, and I did enjoy that it happened, but I'm conflicted because one, the crowd really loved it, and I'm and the wrestling, not wrestling purist, because that's a different brand. The wrestling pundit in me is like, well, then the angle didn't turn because the crowd cheered and he's turning heel, right? And then then the next thought comes back in my head of like, but it's WWE. The last several people that have turned heel, big time stars that have turned heel, all get cheered. Roman Reigns, The Rock, John Cena,
Yeah. I
people that
think
are,
it's
and especially like
shock too.
I think shock as well. I think there's also the other big part of people have really wanted this heel turn.
Yeah.
I don't know, a decade, really.
Longer
Uh,
than that.
yeah, it's like you can probably go longer, but at least a decade. And so ultimately, this is much like Dave Bautista. This is giving people what they want.
Mm.
Um, and again, the wrestling pundit in me is like, well, then that it's not a good turn
Nah,
because
can't think that way these days.
I know that, but that's the part of my brain that's conflicted of like, but it can't, but that's not how it should in all these sort of things. But it's like, because I wouldn't be shocked because the question I have moving forward, seeing that is, can John Cena truly get the crowd to boo him? And I think he can because he is John Cena and he used to do this.
Yeah.
And by the way, be a phenomenally great heel back in the day. Again, patreon.com/countupod, hustle loyalty retrospect. But this is also a new era where like the heel that John Cena was would 100% have been cheered in 2025. The prototype heel would have
Would have
been
been
cheered.
cheered as he did it a decade ago.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm saying if you took the prototype and
Yeah.
put him in today, he would probably end up being cheered just because of the type
Yeah.
of the high
I,
charisma level.
I have my pitch for how he should handle this.
Well, let me finish my thought before you get that because I that is the next big thing. Not Brock, not we're not talking Brock Lesnar. Um, I I did enjoy it. I did like it. There is the confliction within me of like the crowd booing him and turning on him is going to be
It's a
I think
challenge.
I think it's going to be a challenge. It's obviously a
It's
challenge that John Cena wants and is willing to go through
very
and
much
try to
so.
do. I
It
I
feels like his biggest challenge possible for this last run.
Correct, and I think Triple H made mention of it last night at the presser as well. Of this is something that he's going out swinging and wants to do something. Now there is a part of me that's like, then you only got like basically 9 months to go through this entire arc because there's no way we're ending this of John Cena as a heel.
No,
Um,
no, he'll be cheered by the end.
so this there's an element of this feeling fast,
Yeah.
but I'm on board of the story. I am with it. There is just the part of me that there isn't confliction, and I think the other part of it, the confliction for me as well, is whereas I do like it, I do like the
Mhm.
pairing of him with The Rock. I do think there is logical sense with him with The Rock, and more less so The Rock, but the idea of like Cena being someone that has sold his soul to the company,
Yeah,
whereas where Cody has sold his soul to the fans. I
yeah.
think that is the bigger story element. The Rock is the final boss. The Rock is just the embodiment of WWE, of TKO, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, there's logical sense. There is an aspect of me when I saw that heel turn and saw Cena turn and The Rock standing there, all these sort of things, and not engaging. There's a part of me that's just like Cena looks second to The Rock, and there's an element of like it's John Cena. He shouldn't be that, but at the same time, I like it and I want to see how it turns out.
Yeah.
So that again, there are things grinding up against me less than 24 hours after watching the angle and watching the turn that I haven't yet processed, but I'm willing to figure it out and
Yeah.
willing to watch it as it unfurls.
It feels like one of those things where you actually just have to sit and process it because it wasn't believable
Yeah,
until it happened, right?
yeah,
Still kind of doesn't feel believable. Like here, I'll give it for instance. My friend is in London, so he couldn't watch the show, but he's like, just text me like whatever happens because I don't feel like looking it up. And I didn't text him the whole night. I was like, I'll just give him like a rundown. And then when that happened, I was like, John Cena turned heel. That's all you need to know. And
yeah,
he was just like, what?
yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's mental. Like it's insane to think it happened.
Like people compare it obviously to like Stone Cold siding with Vince and Hulk Hogan's turn,
Yeah,
which I think is totally fair. It's the biggest star,
right.
one of the biggest stars of generations that have been babyface for a very long time and then turn
Yeah.
heel. Obviously,
This is different from both.
Stone Cold less babyface more compared to the two of them, but you know what I mean.
Right. The
Uh,
the reason
I only bring that up also is because it's like going back to my confliction, like those both got booed and this got cheered, and it's just like I think that's more of a testament of like
I don't think the
the I
cheers were that there though. Like
I
I've listened to it back.
I'll take your word
It's
for it.
like
In
it's
the
a little
moment, it
bit
felt
of
like they were
both. It's
cheers.
shock.
Yeah, that might
Again,
be
it's
more fair.
shock. There's something about current wrestling fans that if you're there for a moment,
Which WWE
you
fans are certainly there for a
right,
moment.
you have an appreciation for it, so you react that way.
Yeah.
Again, it's gonna be a matter of who's over in the end, and I think Cody was gonna be the guy over in the end,
Yes.
in terms of the baby face. For me, also with the angle, I think it's different because you have to also remember this is John Cena retiring.
Yes. That's also the big
He
part
has
of it.
made this pivot. He has made this decision with months to go in his wrestling career.
Hmm.
It is the biggest attempt of his career.
Yeah.
And it's one that, you know what, if it doesn't work out, he'll be fine. You know why? Because he'll just be John Cena by the end of this. No
Hmm.
matter what. Even if it does work out, if it doesn't, he'll be John Cena by the end of this. Um, it's gonna feel fast. It's gonna honestly, I think he's heel till SummerSlam,
Surely.
probably.
Surely. Yeah.
And then, he loses the title. I think you have to have him
But
win the title
loses
to
the
keep it.
title. That means you're thinking he's winning the title at
I think
WrestleMania.
that's the only way it works.
I agree.
I think that's the only way it works is he has to win and then lose it, obviously. And then from there, you can see him go back or whatever. But I will also say this. They have one hell of a tag match if they want it for SummerSlam Night 1.
Uh huh.
Just saying. And that, of course, is Rock and Cena versus Punk and not Punk. Well, Punk would work too, but Rhodes and Reigns. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's a big ass tag match right there.
Yeah.
They're
There's
gonna have to get Rock and Cena tagging once out of this.
Yeah, I know. You have The Rock saying that like I'm basically a non-playable character. I don't have to wrestle anymore.
Right.
You gotta get The Rock to do a tag
You
match at
gotta.
least. Come on.
He doesn't
Like
have to
that
do much if it's a tag.
because that ultimately could be the SummerSlam night
Yeah,
one, or we have night one, night two of SummerSlam this year. You could literally do what you did at WrestleMania last year. Do The Rock and Cena
easily.
versus Cody and Seth Rollins to eat the pin, or what? Just I don't know. Punk makes sense, or I
Well,
don't. Well,
Rhodes
Punk,
ate the pin last year, to be fair.
good point. Good point. And you could just do that, and have
You could
Punk in
do
there.
Punk, you could do Reigns, you could do one of those two makes sense.
You can do Randy Orton for old time's sake. Uh,
You could do that. That's the
I,
thing with John
I
Cena,
would,
though. There's legitimately so many options.
yeah. And him being heel does, I think, allow for more of that.
Yeah.
In terms of it's the thing of like, okay, this is gonna sound like a negative dunk on AEW from a registered freakazoid,
Holy,
apparently.
buckle up. I'm buckled up. This is the first time ever, guys. Here we go.
It's the kind of the John Cena heel turn, weirdly enough to me, knowing that like him being heel opens him up more to like a bunch of face
Hmm.
versus heel John Cena dynamic matches moving forward. It is the kind of heel turn that we would never get in AEW. Not never get, but because AEW, which I think is also a good thing, advertises dream matches. And with John Cena, you could have just advertised dream match after dream match after dream match and being the retirement thing. But by doing a heel turn that and doing the heel face alignment and hard nosed heel face alignment that WWE does a lot more, it forces this more where it's like you can have a dream match, but now you have this additional story on top of it. AEW can eventually do one of these things down the road, but they need to have a guy that's like babyface forever, like Orange Cassidy, who eventually turns heel. But he is also, to be fair, not as big of a star as Hulk Hogan,
He is
Stone
not John
Cold,
Cena.
obviously John Cena. But it is that thing of like, you could have just done John Cena versus Punk versus Randy.
Right.
I don't know, I wouldn't
No, I
necessarily
get your
want to see it,
point, though.
but you could have done all these babyface matches versus John Cena
Yeah.
and just advertise them a dream match. But now that you have this heel element, at least
Hmm.
for sub 9 months, you have to. I don't know when that's going to happen, but
Right.
you know, there is this element of there is additional thing on top of everything moving forward that
Yeah.
makes everything I think more interesting.
I think to just the other thing I thought about is you have to also remember Cena's story going into all this, right? He hasn't been able to win,
Yes, he's a big
right?
old loser, a big
Not be
old
able to win,
stinky
big old
loser.
loser. So how does he change that? He sells his soul, right, to win again.
Now I will say about that part, he did win the chamber before the
He did,
match.
but Rollins helped, which honestly, I think they need to include Rollins into something now because I just watched Rollins essentially set Cena up to become the Rock's guy,
Yeah.
which is a very funny like they won't touch it. I know they won't because that's Punk, Rollins, and
Yeah, it
Roman.
feels
I
like
know,
Rollins, Punk,
but
Roman,
every
WrestleMania.
decision that Seth Rollins makes has a bad effect on the company. It's very funny. It's a continuous cycle that I think is very noticeable. Um, in terms of Cena playing heel, and by the way, I think Cena versus babyface Randy Orton, while might not interest many people,
In fact,
is
Bjorn
a
in the chat brought up that entire that exact
yeah,
moment.
it is a fascinating dynamic that honestly I think would work very well because one, they're just going to be John Cena and Randy Orton.
Mhm.
And two, I mean, did you see like the Randy Orton segment yesterday? You kind of forget how over this guy is as a babyface every time he comes back.
Yeah.
Um, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. In
Now
terms of Cena as a
hold on.
heel,
That being said, the slowest match in the history of slow matches got to be
I
Randy Orton versus
agree.
old John
Oh,
Cena.
that yes, absolutely. 100%. You couldn't be more right.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's a different. Oh, yeah. But The crowd will be into it, and that's all that matters. Anyways, for WWE, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
In terms of Cena being a heel, I've thought about this, continuously thought about this since the moment he turned. I was like, what does this look like? I was like, is he gonna wear pants? Like, is that what's gonna happen?
I was just about to say 100% he should drop the jorts.
So there's that. There's that. I think there's the pivot of completely changing,
Mhm.
or
I
there's
think
the pivot of I'm still John Cena. Fucking deal with it.
there is that. There's an element that like he doesn't change at all, and because like this is I'm the character.
Yeah.
It is
I'm
one
the
of
company guy, John Cena, and he
yes.
just is John Cena.
I do
Which one
like
pisses me off more?
there is an element where it's like, I can't wait, by the way, and I'm thinking about this right now, and it's perfect in my brain. The synapse is fired, and I'm like, yes. This idea of John Cena and calling out Cody as like the new John Cena, right?
Yeah.
So then if Cody is the new John Cena, what does that make John Cena? Well, that makes John Cena. I've said John Cena way too many times. That makes Cena the prototype to Cody Rhodes.
Damn right.
I was like,
But
if we call him if we could drop the George,
yeah,
change up his attire a little bit, and call him the prototype John Cena. I
that'd be so
mean,
funny.
it feels nice.
You just want the prototype back. That's what you want so bad.
It will be brought up at some point,
Oh, it will.
100%
It
in
will.
these promos.
I also think that's the most interesting part now is them selling this angle. You
Oh
have
yeah,
Cody and a locked in Cena selling this. Everyone complained about the WrestleMania build. It's not, it's not that great of a build, and it doesn't feel like we're into the next level. Well, you fucking had to ask. Now you got it. I don't think
it took a while to get here. To be fair,
it did. It did, and it mostly had to do with him not being here.
Well, I'll also say Yeet
Too.
as a big part of that too.
But now he is here, and now you have the single biggest match of the year in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no matter how you feel about any company, like, this is going to be the biggest match.
Yeah, I'm
And
glad
it
we
would have
didn't.
been before that.
Yes, when we
But now
originally
it's bigger.
when I pitched Cena versus Cody last year at WrestleMania,
Yeah, I
I
don't think
did
this
not.
is even remotely in your realm of
I
possibility.
did not picture Cena turning heel in that moment, and even then,
If
like I
anything,
said,
you're
like
turning Cody.
yeah, and even then I talked about how like like last couple episodes of just this idea of like maybe they don't go with Cena, maybe they go with someone else. They don't have to go with Cena. In the back of my head, I always still thought that like Cena was the better idea, but it was like okay, maybe they don't have to go with Cena. Maybe that's not the story we're going for.
Right.
And they end up going with Cena. It's like I think that's still the better idea. That's the better match. And like I said earlier, it's like you have the dream match, and that's always cool, and you can always ride that wave. But having this heel turn adds so much more energy. I am fascinated to see the crowd reaction follow up. I think that is the biggest, most crucial aspect to all of this. I think Cody is a big. I think Cody's a big enough babyface to get the cheers. I think Cena is a good enough actor, I guess the word is, to get the heel reaction. I think there is an element of cool heel, giving people what they want in the heel turn. I mean, even The Rock gets cheers, right? The Roman got
That's why
cheers.
I am playing with the idea of him just kind of staying John.
Well,
Because that pisses people off already.
well, yeah, but then there's also the other aspect of like he's giving people what he wants here, so there's an element of taking away the jorts and taking away let's
it's a 1-2 punch. You have to figure out what's gonna make the people most angry.
yeah,
And it's probably a mix.
yes. There's because
know?
you could do a story of The Rock telling Cena he has to change his attire because that's not what the company wants, and Cena saying, "Of course, I'll do whatever the company wants."
Yeah.
You could easily do that, and then
That's the exciting part of this.
The problem there is that I'm putting the heat on The Rock, which I guess you eventually want to do because I think Cena will have to turn against The Rock.
But it is interesting
It feels like,
obviously they're going.
hold on. It feels like we're gonna get The Rock versus Cena again at some point, right?
Yeah, it does a little bit. I think that what is interesting is at the end of all this, well, not the end of all this, but in March, aren't they going to Europe for like
Ye-
most of the month?
Yeah, I believe so.
That'll be an interesting crowd to see how they treat Cena.
It's,
Because that's a little different from the typical WWE US crowd. And when
Mhm.
I say a little different, I mean it's very different. Um, but that's the beauty of this is there's so many different ways you can go, and it's pretty exciting. Because you just don't know.
Yeah.
Um, could this? I think you ultimately have to look at this multiple ways. Could this flop on their face? I don't think there's a scenario it flops on their face because then John Cena is just a baby face again. And whoa, too
Yeah.
bad for them. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, WWE wins because it's his retirement year. That's why it's so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Is it's his retirement year. Like there isn't I don't think there's a way to fail for him. This is just him, getting the last thing he never got to do in
Yes.
before he retires. And he's doing it alongside The Rock.
Yeah.
Like what a
And
sentence.
Travis Scott. How can
And
we forget?
Travis Scott.
I hope he's here the entire year.
That would be so funny. That would just be as funny. The only rapper that was in attendance that was got any attention yesterday.
Well,
Not
Logan Paul gave Drake some attention.
Yeah, he did. Drake got no attention from them, which is so funny because WWE loves to show everyone in their crowd, and they were just like, "Nope."
Well, yeah, I mean, I imagine there's an element of like maybe Drake was like, I don't want to be on screen. Sometimes
Yeah, I
people can
wouldn't
say
either
no.
if I was him.
And to be fair to Triple H, Scotty, I'm sure Triple H has just not heard "Not Like Us" yet. I'm sure he hasn't. He's heard he's not aware of the allegations. He hasn't heard "Not Like Us" yet.
Mm. It's so bad.
I am fascinated to see where this goes. Like I said, there is an element here. The confliction I have is that there's an element here of giving the people what they want, which is a John Cena heel run. And there's also the element of like giving the people what they want in the sense that like this is the last time they'll see John Cena. So do they really want to
Yeah,
boo him? For a
it's
lot
gonna
of
be hard.
you brought up the Europe tour. It's like so many of
Yeah,
those cities. That's the last time they'll ever get a chance to see John Cena
most
wrestle.
cities he goes to is the last time.
Yeah. So
Like
this idea of like him getting booed at any of these
yeah,
cities, it's like I can't. It's possible, but
you
I
know
don't know
where
how
they will boo
likely.
him. You know where they will boo him. They will boo him in Chicago. I'm not worried about
Oh,
that.
that's true. That is true. That is true.
I wonder where the Chicago date is in the middle of the summer, just so I can start to plan out when John Cena versus CM Punk's happening.
Yeah, what do we do we have any announcements? I'm gonna look up
I
those
don't
tour
know,
dates.
but
But it's
like,
this thing of like I think they have a big time challenge on their hands, and
mhm,
I think they have the right people to try to make it
yeah,
work. I think it's just going to be it's going to be difficult.
it
But it's
is.
like it is the people it is these are all-time great workers. Can they turn it and can they make this successful? Yes, they can. It's just going to be hard.